California is kind of a mess, but the solution is clear. The state needs more government bureaucracy. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. California is an absolute dumpster fire. From San Francisco to LA and everywhere in between, homelessness is everywhere. California makes up a third of America's homeless, which is strange because the government has thrown a bunch of money at the problem, $14 billion actually. Clearly, the problem is the landlords. Modern problems require old communist solutions. California does have insane housing prices, and they're only going up. Why? Leave California now, before it's too late. Rent is insane. In more than 2/3 of California's zip codes, the typical family now spends at least 30% of its income on rent. That barely leaves anything for suntanner and Botox. In the San Francisco Bay Area, on average, rent is $2,000 to $3,000 a month. But you really get what you pay for. So to prevent people from becoming homeless, California is restricting rent hikes and evictions. California Governor Gavin Newsom made a law to do that back in 2019. It's a bill called AB 1482, the Tenant Protection Act. It was recently used against the Green Valley Corporation. Green Valley Corporation hiked rents near San Jose's Japantown by an average of 151% in 2021, which was way beyond the Tenant Protection Act's rent increase cap. It was also evicting people without showing just cause. Green Valley Corporation had to pay over $390,000, over $330,000 of which was just restitution for overcharged rent. Now, many applauded this. What the Green Valley Corporation was doing does seem pretty shady. But this goes beyond just one megacorporation. Some parts of California still have pandemic-era eviction bans in place, and there is still demand for even stronger government regulation to protect tenants. Now, some say this is called for since many people are struggling to make ends meet, but others say it'll do even more damage in the long run. More after the break. Welcome back. California still has pandemic eviction bans in place. For example, LA County extended its eviction moratorium up until March earlier this year. Then it extended certain renter protections and added new permanent ones. These protections include even forcing the landlord to help pay for a tenant's move. Although landlords in Los Angeles can pursue court action for unpaid rent, they can't seek eviction until August of this year. And they can't pursue unpaid rent till February 2024. LA isn't the only place that extended its eviction moratorium. San Francisco did so multiple times as well. The most recent extended it to the end of August this year. Oakland also is keeping the pandemic restrictions in place till August this year. And Berkeley until July next year. Just 2 weeks to flatten the curve. But some want to make some of these restrictions permanent throughout the whole state. Back in February earlier this year, California State Senator Maria Elena Durazo introduced a bill called SB 567. It's still going through revisions in the state Senate. SB 567 looks to build on the already existing California Tenants Protection Act that went into effect in 2020, which essentially limits annual rent increases among other protections. This includes making it more difficult for landlords to evict tenants with no-fault just cause. Under the Tenant Protection Act, there are some no-fault just causes that would allow exceptions for evictions. Among them is the intent to demolish or substantially remodel the property. What counts as substantial remodeling includes the replacement or modification of any structural, electrical, plumbing, or mechanical system that requires a permit from a government agency or the reduction of hazardous materials. But legislators argue that landlords and property owners are abusing the no-fault just cause provision as a loophole to kick people out. According to a senior public policy advocate at the Inner City Law Center, landlords have used renovation that never materialized as an excuse for evicting families. There are absolutely some horrible landlords out there. But here's the flip side. Eviction restrictions and bans mean landlords are forced to lose money while still having to pay for property taxes to the government. Yeah, no moratorium on that. And just like there are bad landlords, there are bad tenants. Some landlords complain these policies mean tenants aren't doing all they can to get back on their feet, or even submitting the necessary paperwork to receive financial aid. And get this, many of these policies allow tenants to self-certify that their inability to pay was tied to the pandemic. As a result, some tenants owe thousands in back rent, and some small landlords are drowning in debt. This includes minorities who own property.
One of my clients, first-generation immigrants from Mexico, come here to have an experience of American dream, and they find themselves living an American nightmare just because a tenant refused to pay the rent, not because they couldn't afford it. And that's what's happened with this moratorium. She's had a job the whole time, and it's unfortunate. She just, at some point, just decided to stop paying the rent. And she said, well, the law is on my side.
Minority landlords have protested against eviction moratoriums going into 2023. Many of the landlords were Black or Asian American, and they said the eviction bans had saddled them with debt and foreclosure worries, while their tenants, who have jobs, live rent-free. Money isn't the only thing that they worry about. If SB 567 comes into force, critics worry that property owners would also suffer from unreasonable and inflexible restrictions. For example, if a landlord needed to take care of a family member and move them into the rental property, the bill requires that the family member reside in the property for at least 12 continuous months. This isn't taking into consideration all sorts of unpredictable circumstances that may require specific care for a specific amount of time. Another example of the bill's inflexibility is that it requires all the rental units at the rental property to be withdrawn from the rental market at once. There's no in-between for a property owner to leave some rental units open for business and others closed. The proponents for this bill and others like it say this will help combat homelessness, but at best, this is only focusing on keeping people housed, not getting more people off the streets. And from the property owner's point of view, these policies are a recipe for making the landlords homeless, which is just so California. So what do you think of expanding protections for tenants? Leave your comments below. And remember that we rely mainly on direct support from viewers like you. If you want to help us deliver nonpartisan news, all it takes is as little as $1 per episode over on our crowdfunding website, Patreon. Visit patreon.com/AmericaUncovered for more. Click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.